what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy it.
I am not saying that this is for sure going to happen. But there is a lot of smoke on the streets that Bear Alexander, the big former Georgia Bulldog defensive tackle, last year the USC interior defensive tackle, is entering the transfer portal once again. This started coming out of some USC, I don't know if I call them fan accounts, like, Twitter accounts that are, and reporters that are just, I don't like, it didn't seem to me like they work for any official publications, but that's what they do, is report on USC news. And everybody's hearing that he is leaving. Now, what is shocking about this are a couple of things. First off, what this means now, Jake, Bear Alexander will have played at 7 different schools in 7 years if he transfers.
Yeah, going back to high school.
Every year since his freshman year of high school, he has left and gone somewhere else. So this is this is par for the course with Bear. And if you think it feels unrealistic that he would transfer once again, well, I would say that his actions speak differently than that. So the reason why this matters is because although Bear Alexander is not as good or maybe doesn't have the numbers that are going to knock your socks off and probably will probably get more money than you would think he should based on said numbers, he becomes very valuable to teams that are desperate for defensive tackle help. And obviously, there's probably no major school more desperate than that of LSU right now. And I want to be clear, I don't think LSU is like a leader in the clubhouse or anything. A lot of the reports and rumors seem to be that he maybe wants to return to Texas to reunite with old teammates. But, I mean, having Bo Davis now, I think puts you in the mix for any major D lineman. The desperation that you currently have would mean that you're probably going to try to put together a very nice incentive package for him monetarily, although I'm sure he was already getting paid pretty well from USC if his apartment was any indication. I mean,
I remember that now.
Overlooking the LA skyline, my guy lived in like a straight penthouse. But yeah, okay, so here's the deal. I tweeted out yesterday, a bit tongue-in-cheek, look, LSU boosters, get ready to overpay this man immediately, because that's probably what it would take to get here. But even if he's not the best or like All-American or anything, what he represents to your team in terms of depth and frontline starting power could be worth overpaying what his raw stats are.
You'd be overpaying, because this is such a position of need. You'd almost feel like you had to, because you need the bodies. And look, I know you have other players coming in from other schools that are visiting that are going to be in the portal, already in the portal, that have the ability to come to LSU. And you're certainly going to add more defensive tackles, more defensive linemen to your roster. You're also probably going to add, a couple of other positions, and you're going to be aggressive. Now, how aggressive do you get with Bear Alexander? Because, you got to be smart as well. If you're going to throw all these funds at one player, you got to make sure that he can play over what you currently have and what you think you have coming in as well. Because, look, they got a really good idea of who's in the portal right now and who they have a chance at getting. When you go over there, you know that there's going to be other people that they add to this roster. And
so I'll ask you, do you think he's better than anything you have right now?
Well, that's what I was getting to. Last year, against the best teams that they played, he struggled. USC, I'm talking about. Against Oregon, he graded out 47%. Against Utah, 49%. Against Washington, 64%. Now, the only game that he had against a good what I consider a good team that was good for him was Notre Dame. He was 75.3%. And so that, to me, those numbers, those grades, and kind of going along with his stats, he's a guy. Not a dude, he's a guy. But the thing is, for LSU, they just need guys because they don't have enough guys. So, like, you have to be aggressive, but to what point? Like, how aggressive would you be with Bear Alexander? And look, this is, honestly, you might not like it. It's pretty smart by Bear Alexander if he's going – he did the same thing, I believe, at the same time a year ago, and we saw what he got because of it. Bear Alexander at Georgia 2 years ago didn't have this great season. He had a good national championship game in which every single Bulldog had.
He was buried on a very good defensive line depth chart, but then what he came up with, a sack and a half in the Natty?
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah,
and
that
so,
kind of
and that got him paid. And he goes to USC. He has a good year. I'm not saying he was awful by any means, but against the best competition.
He's one of the only members that flashed on that defense, though. And granted, it was an awful defense, but he may not have graded out very well, but when you watch USC's defense, he was one of the only players that kind of at least looked the part a bit.
He might look the part. I think he's serviceable. I think he would help you at LSU, but I'm just saying I would be aggressive, but not to a point where I'm giving him true all SEC, all Big 12, all ACC defensive tackle money through NIL.
I'm probably a bit higher on his potential than you.
You've been, we argued the same thing last year.
I think that combining him with Bo Davis and this defensive staff would be very exciting. I don't know. Maybe this is unfair to Jacoby and Guillory. It feels like he has a higher ceiling than Guillory. Maybe he does not. Guillory has been one of these standouts of spring. You're going to be the guy they're going to rely on the most. I do think he's an immediate starter if you sign him. True or false? Who would start over him? You got Kimo Macaniole taking first-team reps.
Right.
And I know you got Baez coming in from Wisconsin. And today you're hosting Indiana defensive lineman Philip Blidi, who's actually another big name coming out of the portal. Didn't have the numbers that Bear did, but did start 11 games for Indiana last year. He had 4 tiffles. Again, kind of like a guy type of deal. 6'3", 300, though. Good size there. Blidi just visited Washington. He's going to visit Arizona. He's going to visit Oklahoma. Apparently, Texas A&M and Auburn are currently trying to land visits as well. He's in LSU today. Apparently, Blidi is very intrigued by Bo Davis and what he can do for his development. He says he wants to compete for championships. He thinks LSU is a school that can do that. So even bringing in Baez and Blidi, though, let's say you land both those guys, I still think Bear Alexander, Jacoby, and Gilly would immediately be your starters in a world where Kimo Macaniole is taking first-team reps.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I guess my whole point is you just have to make sure, is Bear Alexander, if you give him this huge NIL deal, right, is he better than, let's say, 2 players? Like you're getting one from Wisconsin, one from Indiana. Like you just have to be smart, I think, because you're still going to have needs. And look, I don't know what the fund looks like. I don't know how much you're going to be able to spend, but you overpay to some extent because of your need. You just need bodies at that position. Yeah. But you also have to be smart because then you start to get into a situation where, man, God, we're counting on this guy. We gave this NIL situation, and maybe he's not the player you thought he was.
Yeah, I look at USC's defense and Alex Grinch, and I see a similar thing to what we saw at Matt House and LSU last year, where I think he took talented guys like a Mekhi Wingo and actively made them worse. I think Bear probably suffered from some of the same. I'd be very intrigued by him teamed up with Bo Davis. And then again, I think Jacoby and Guillory and Bear Alexander starting next to each other, that's a legit starting SEC interior defensive line, especially then if you got like a Blidi rotating in and who knows, maybe Kimo's like, and to be fair to Kimo, like he could end up being better than I'm giving credit for, right? Maybe he's really taken that defensive line, although I haven't really seen it before, and maybe he's ready to have an impact. I'm still a bit disappointed that Jalen Lee hasn't been more of a factor in a lot of these conversations. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to know. Like, I wish this was like the NFL, and we have more access to numbers, so we could put a number on it. But yeah, I would go. I don't think you're going to get him. I think it's probably has Texas written all over it. But I would be going very hard to try to get Bear. Probably the biggest takeaway though is player leverage, because here you have a guy that is going to get paid a lot, and he's really getting paid off of potential more than anything else. But when you have a market that is far larger than the NFL market, with far more teams with bigger needs, well, you end up having more leverage because, as Jalen Rose says, you are worth whatever somebody is willing to give you. I'll be very intrigued to see what LSU is willing to give him.
I know Georgia fans also yesterday, I saw your post that you had, and some of the comments were, I'd stay away. This guy's been 7 places in 7 years, like all those things. And I'm sitting there thinking, LSU doesn't care.
Yeah, beggars can't be choosers.
Well, no. I mean, if he played 1 year here, LSU would be fine with that. LSU's got dudes that they signed in this recruiting class. I mean, they got 5 stars at that position.
Yeah. And
they're going to continue to add at that position. And being, able to have Bo Davis here and you recruit to that and with that, like it's not a situation that's going to be bad down the road. It's just bad right now. So if it is only 1 year, like I know Georgia fans again were like, stay away from this guy. If he gives you 1 year, that's what you want for LSU.
And this ain't no salary cap. It's not like he's going to be taking up resources that you can't use later on down the road, especially if it's a 1 year deal. The question is, I think they're probably pretty much maxed out in their NIL money already, right? You've already done the planning.
Like that's kind of what I was saying is,
and
like,
so,
do you want to push all your chips to the middle of the table for one player? Or do you think 2 players, maybe not as good, will do you better because you just don't have the numbers?
Well, I feel like you've probably already accounted for the money. You already got Baez from Wisconsin. You probably already counted the money for Blidi. So I think this is just like your hat back in your hand. Say, partner, got any more left in the coffers you can maybe toss my way? Look at this cat. We got to have him. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.